friends. I'm just kind of adjusting my camera here still, just a hair. It always puts it on the wide camera angle and I can see just a tiny bit of my stand in the video. We're gonna wait for Natalie to get on. She's moderating today. I hope you guys are having a fantastic week so far, having a good Friday. All right, we're just gonna wait for some people to join. I'm gonna kind of get myself a little set up here. What is everybody making for NSD? Are you guys making ATCs? Are you scrapbooking? What collections are you using? All right. Hi, Natalie. Just trying to get myself set up here on my iPad so that I can kind of see things. I tried to get it as close as possible to, I'm still kind of trying to get it adjusted right. My stand just is not, trying to get it so that you can see. There we go. I think that's a little bit better. It's funny because what I see in my iPad is a lot wider than what I see on my phone screen. Okay. All right, shall we get started? Thank you guys. Thanks for joining. So glad you guys could make it. All right, ignore the little bit of glare from my light. I want you guys to be able to see, but I find those kind of annoying. I try to get rid of them in my videos, but it is what it is today. So we're going to be doing some ATCs for the NSD challenge. We're going to be making this octopus today together. And if there's time, we'll get started or work on the seahorse or whatever. But, and if you guys saw the graphic for the NSD challenge, the main color is blue, some kind of magical creature. I chose some sea creatures that I think are magical. You could use the mermaids from the new collection, glitter, and a stencil, I think. Add whatever I've missed, Natalie. All right, so let's go ahead and get started so that we can get right into this and start making this really pretty octopus. I'm going to set the seahorse off to the side over here, and that guy there. I'm going to leave this here so we can kind of work on it. And I've already started just a little bit of this just because this takes so much time. I didn't want you guys watching like an hour worth of me just making these little suckers here. So I've left this one little piece here that we're going to work on together. But I've already added his little eyes and all of the other little bits and pieces on there. And this is really super easy to do. You guys just need some modeling material, or if you don't have that and you have like paper clay on hand, you could totally use that. The other thing that I use are like these little shaping tools that have the rounded ends on them. And we're just going to take just a tiny little bit, and I need something to kind of, I like to kind of cover that up just a little bit. You don't want this to get dried out, so. And you're literally just going to make itty bitty little tiny balls by rolling it. And then we're going to use one of these little tiny little round ball ends, and we're just going to like press right into that and like make a little indentation. I might go one size bigger. This is kind of a bigger one. There we go. Yeah, that's perfect. And you know, if it like, let me see if I can get that kind of close. If it's imperfect, don't worry about it. So, you know, in nature, things are not perfect either. I am going to be using the soft matte gel to attach these. And we're going to be dipping into this a lot today. Let me grab my, I call this my yuck brush because it's so yucky looking, but it's perfect for this kind of application. And I'm just going to paint just a little bit here. And then you want to have a cup of water on hand. You want to keep your brush wet so that it doesn't get all dried out and yucky. And I'm just going to pick this back up and just stick that right down into that. And then we're just going to keep going. And you want to make like different sized little balls here for these suckers because some are going to be bigger, some are going to be smaller. If you guys have any questions, please make sure you're dropping them in the comments. If I see them, I'll answer them, but for sure Natalie will answer if I don't see it. All right. I think that was a little too wet. Let me grab. I always like to have microfiber cloths on hand. There we go. Now we've got that. Okay. And stick that one right in there. And I just used a pencil. You guys can probably see these lines to draw out where I wanted to place. Let me see if I can get that close. Get that to focus. You can kind of see that. So I know where I'm putting these at. Let's go down one size. This is pretty small. And we're just going to fill that in. All right. Yeah, so if you guys are participating in the challenge, the NSD ATC challenge, let us know what you think you guys are going to be making, what magical creature you've chosen. And then don't forget to share and to tag Prima so that you guys have a chance to win. I think that's, there's like a little giveaway. Correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie. I've been busy preparing, so I haven't been paying attention to all the posts. Get that out of the way. I think this is probably just the most boring portion of this because it's so repetitive. We'll get into the really fun stuff soon here. I think I'll probably make like 2 more and then we'll be done. Hello to everyone who's just joining. I hope you guys are having a fantastic Friday. If you guys are just joining us, we're working on some ATCs, and I'm just making some little tiny suckers for this octopus out of the modeling material from Redesign. And I'm just rolling up some little balls of it and then pressing, this one's too big, pressing a little shaper tool into it to make the indentation and sticking it on with some soft matte gel. Okay. All right, so I think we're done there. The next thing that we want to do, I'm going to put this away for right now. Get this back in here. Had a little excess. Make sure I get that closed really good. All right, we are done with the modeling material. Now these are wood shapes, and so I want to prime them just a little bit because wood's pretty thirsty. If you guys are using paper, because we're going to be putting some paste on these later, you want to protect them, so you'll want to prime them with like clear gesso. I'm going to use the white for this, just so that it has a nice uniform base to it. And I'm gonna do this part last so I can give this a little chance to dry there. But we're just gonna give this a little coat. It's finally been warming up where I live. I am in Colorado in the US, and April tends to be our snowiest month, and surprisingly we got just a tiny bit of snow where I live. I think the high country got more. But I've been seeing everyone's lovely flower posts on Instagram, and my garden's really just kind of starting to kick up with flowers. So I hope you guys are enjoying warmer weather where you're at, if you're in the northern hemisphere, if you're in the southern hemisphere, and I hope your season isn't too chilly yet. And also just a heads up, guys, I've got dogs and I am in a loft, so I can't lock them out. So if they start barking, just ignore them. Wednesday is the worst day, so I'm glad we're not doing this on a Wednesday morning because they like to bark at all of the garbage trucks that come by. It seems like everybody has garbage day on Wednesday in my neighborhood. I'm not worrying too much about perfection here with this because we're going to be covering this up with acrylics. It's more just to kind of, so I'm not using up too much of my acrylics. Get down in there. But this is just so that things don't get sucked up by the wood too much. I'm just kind of swirling my paintbrush around just to kind of get down in those crevices between those suckers that I created and getting a little bit on the edge here. I'll do this bottom part that's already dry. And then I'll come back to that other piece at the end. Hopefully they're dry by then. It shouldn't take too long. So what do you guys like to do when you craft? Do you like to listen to music, a podcast, a TV show or movie? Just like the quiet? I'm usually listening to something in the background. Today I put on a little ambiance video on my TV. Just from, you probably can't really hear. If you hear a little bird chirp, that's what that is. Just so that I have something to kind of fill the silence. But I do like to just kind of zone out and enjoy that crafty time, which I think is what NSD is all about, is just enjoying that time for yourself to create. Do you guys have any questions about the new collection that was just released? You guys can ask that because we're going to be using it today. I think this is my favorite collection yet. I say that with every new collection that Prima has, but I really love the colors in this one. They're some of my favorites. Hello, I see a lot of people joining on my screen notifications. Hope you guys are all doing great. We're just crafting away here. We're getting the boring parts out of the way first. Okay, let's see. I think those are glued in pretty good. We're gonna paint those now. All right. Put that away. And just to kind of speed up the process, I'm going to use this little fan that I have for drying. It doesn't heat. It's just like one of those ones you can use in hot weather to cool yourself off. A lot of the stores sell them at this time of year. I use it to help dry my projects. Okay. All right. So let's see. Next, we want to do some painting, and we're also going to paint this as well. This is cast out of resin from the new mold. I'll just show you guys that. There's so many really pretty things in here. So if you guys wanted to use like the mermaid, there's seahorses in here for your own project. So today I'm going to be using the turtle, and then for the seahorse I used this cute little fish. So if we have time, we'll get to that, but we're going to work on this guy first. And then I've also prepared a couple of other things that we'll be using. Some of the flowers from this collection, some of the floral ephemera. Yes, this is one of the ephemera pieces from that other Icon ephemera pack. And then I also, this is one of my favorite things to do, prepped some little die cut leaves from the paper, and I actually used the 4x6 journaling card. So I used like this piece here. And then I think I used another one that had, I think maybe I used that one. I think that's what I used for this one. You can kind of see those little dots there that match that. And so I just die cut from that. I think for the seahorse, I took purple from the back side. So it's really nice to, because you get 3 of each. So you can cut these up because there's some great spaces in here. Just die cut things and add a little bit of, you know, texture to your die cuts. And add those in. You guys can use more ephemera if you don't have a die cut machine. You guys could use chipboard if you have chipboard. Hello, everyone. I see more people are joining, I think. I'm trying to get comments turned on live on my thing here so I can kind of see what's going on. There we go. Hello, everyone. Okay, all right. So I've got those ready to go. These ones over here, the purple, and these ones are for the seahorse if we have time. I'm adding a little bit of lace if you guys have some little lace trim or something. And of course, we'll be adding some of the really pretty crystals later, and pearls and glitter, of course, and some wax. And then these paints over here for the octopus. So let's keep moving along here. The one thing that I like to do when painting, because I get a little messy, you can already see here, I like to use old packaging here. I just save my plastic packaging. And let's see, I use a nicer brush for this. And I'm going to be using Stormy Ocean. And then also Mermaid Teal. And then from Sparks, I'm going to be using Night Shadow. So all really pretty blue and teal colors. And we're not doing something super complicated with this paint job. We're just going to add some color. Let me pull this back over here so you guys can see. It really is just kind of adding it here and there. Just to give, let's see, let's start with this color first. And I just kind of add some, you know? Add a little bit here, a little bit there, and then we'll kind of mix them in together. See, sometimes my paint gets a little bit thick. There we go. You guys can use a little bit of water to help you kind of blend it out just a little bit if you need to. Or there's the liquid fluid medium that kind of helps with thicker paints if it's been sitting on your shelf for a while. Sometimes that happens to me. But in preparation, I added some to some of my thicker paints today. So you can see I'm just kind of adding it here and there in spots. Whoop. Let's not make a total disaster area, Adrienne. I'm so klutzy and clumsy. What are you guys thinking of this project so far? There we go. Okay. Wash my brush off a little bit. And then I think we'll go into this color next. And I'm just going to fill in some of these areas and then just kind of blend it. If it's touching another color, just blend it right into that. I really like this deep blue. I mean, normally I'm a pastel girly, but I always joke about my two modes of crafting. I have pastel shabby chic Adrienne and what I refer to as goth Adrienne. She likes to come out and play around Halloween. And I get into the darker colors and have some fun with things that are what I don't normally create with, which I think is nice and challenging sometimes. That color. We're doing that color. Not that it really matters, but there we go. And now I'll dip into that third color, I think. This one's the one that's a little bit harder. Might have to get a new color soon. So you guys have a tendency to use up your paints, or they go hard like me because I have so many fun things I want to use. I don't always get to them in time. Because I definitely seem to have that problem. So these two blues are kind of similar, but this other one's just a little bit lighter, I think. Has a little less glitter to it. But I think everything just blends so nicely. And we'll kind of go over with like a wash just to kind of help it blend a little bit more with like watered down paint at the very end. So don't worry about the harsh lines. We'll get that fixed later. Let's do a little mixing here. of keep going in and like adding color until all of those harsh lines disappear, which is why I like to kind of mix on my plastic packaging here. Brush cleaned off just a little bit. Okay. Try and hide all those little white edges now. Make sure I get them all. I'm sure there will be some I will miss. And just kind of water that down a little bit. Just kind of water. That will help kind of blend a little bit more. Don't want it too wet though. Okay, I think we got them pretty well covered. That looks good. And then we're just going to kind of do the same thing for the turtle here. I'll start with this color again. I'm going to kind of focus this teal color on the body and the legs, his head and legs. But I'm not worrying about being precise here. This is just fun play. I've done more precise things. I pulled it over here. I'm working on another project. So you can get really detailed in your coloring of these molds. I think those are just so pretty. My niece just so happens to have a birthday in August, and she picked an ocean mermaid theme. So this collection, you'll probably see this month, I'm going to be making a lot of things for her party. A lot of things. All right, so on the shell, I'm going to use this color here mostly. And that's it. For the painting part, get these all closed back up. Yeah. Yes, officially changing the title to Mermaid, Professional Mermaid Crafter. Yes. That is what I'm going to be this month. All right, let me pull this over again. We're going to make sure the paint is dry before I move on to the next step. I'm very excited for warmer weather. I love visiting the beach, but I do enjoy, this is so funny, I do enjoy living in landlocked Colorado with my mountains. But my sister, she loves to go see the ocean and the beach and spend time collecting seashells or looking at them and just hitting the waves. She would, I think, move if she could. So here's our, hopefully that's focusing. So the last step that we want to do with this is to use a little bit of the celestial wax just to highlight and make these just ever so much more magical and highlight that texture, especially on the octopus with all those little suckers that we made. And I'm going to use a brush for this. I just put a little bit on my plastic packaging, and it's kind of like dry brushing. We're just going to go over that texture a little bit. And you'll see it's really subtle, but in person it's just so magical. Let's see if you can see that difference. Do the same here. We're going to highlight his eye that I made. A little too much. And right over all of those. And this wax is so easy to use. If you add a little too much at first, you can just wipe some of that away real quick with a towel or your finger or your paintbrush. It's really kind of foolproof, and I think wax is just a great way to kind of, if you're just getting into mixed media, one of those ones that's super easy to, let's add, because you kind of see his little face under his pile of flowers and goodies. We'll add just a little bit here, maybe a little bit there on the wood, just to kind of highlight that wood texture. Now I want to kind of leave some of this a little untouched, because the next thing we're going to do, move that out of the way, is we are going to use our stencil. And you can use any stencil that you like for this. Ooh, a little plastic packaging ASMR. I'm going to be using the Manor House stencil today, just because I liked the way that the shape of this falls on here, and it just adds, you can kind of see it on him here, just a hint. I put a little bit on the body, but you end up not seeing it. On the seahorse, you can kind of see a little bit more here and there, just because of the shape of the ATC. And we're not worried about perfection here. We're going to be using the Mermaid effect paste for this. And this is just to add a little bit more. I really closed this up good. To add just another little bit of sparkle. And again, this, doesn't because it doesn't lay flat. We're not worried so much about perfection here, like I said. So we're just adding just a hint of sparkle. What makes it on, makes it on. What doesn't, doesn't. All right, that's what we're working with. I'm normally a perfectionist, but you know what? I'm just letting myself go on this one. And then I've got a stencil bath back here. It's like a little plastic tub with some water and soap in it that I just threw my stencil in, because you don't want to ruin your stencils. So I'll wash it off later. All right. We're going to let that set up just a little bit. Ooh, I got myself dirty, guys. Let's see if I can get some of that off. We'll let that dry up just a little bit while I clean myself up a bit. How are you guys all doing? Are we having fun? This may be a job for soap. All right. Oh my goodness. Maybe while I'm waiting for that to dry, I'll do some gesso on this in case we have time. Who knows? Let me find my gesso brush. I always have multiple cups of water on my desk while I'm crafting. So I already did all of the little modeling material pieces on here. I did the eye, and just like on the octopus, I rolled a piece of modeling material for this part, and then I rolled a little log shaped piece and curled it around, and then used these to just kind of press that out and create that texture. Same for this, I kind of shaped it a little bit to his fin here, and then used the balls to create that texture. So that's how I did that one. Let's see, let me get a gander at the comments here, guys. It is a great color, guys. I love blues so much. Blues and teals. All right. Getting just a little messy. Ooh, you know what else I should do? I should probably, I'm going to be using hot glue today to glue everything. I should get that going and warmed up. That way I'm not struggling. All right. That's pretty well gessoed. Take a second to get my brushes cleaned off a bit, guys, so they're not just sitting in water. Okay. Here's the top. My desk isn't very big, so I tend to lose things. The other thing that I want to do while we're waiting for that to dry is I'm going to take this little starfish ephemera piece from the ephemera pack, which has all like the mermaids and stuff in it. Ship wheels and anchors. I think that's the one that it came from. Yeah, there's one of the little ones. Some seahorses and stuff. So really pretty. And we are going to give him just a little bit of shape. I'm going to use one of these big ones just so it looks a little more realistic. I'm going to flip it over, and you want to start slow with this on a bigger size and just kind of warm up those paper fibers a little bit. And then I'm going to flip it over, and then I'm going to use a smaller size here. Let's start with the big one, actually. And I'm just going to press this center back down in. So you can kind of see how I shaped that there. And then I'm just going to kind of go a little bit with the smaller size up that stencil a little bit. Come back over to the back side and press those down again. And that just gives that some really nice shape. And then it'll sit really nicely nestled in all of those flowers. All right, let's speed this up just a little bit here. Always hurry up and wait with the pastes and the paints. Let's see. Trying to get it to show the comments live on my screen over here, and it's just not wanting to do it. Oh well. Ooh, there we go. All right. It feels hard on the outside, but it's still a little soft on the inside, but we'll go with it. All right. Let's see if my hot glue gun is warmed up. Yep. Pull that in so you guys can kind of see here what we're doing. And I like to, let me get this out of the way. Use a little bit of foam adhesive to help kind of pop up things sometimes. So I'm going to be using this, it's black foam adhesive. You can use white. You can use little cut up pieces of cardboard, and that will just kind of pop things up just a little bit. You can kind of see how that's popped up there. So that's what we're going to be doing. Let's just kind of spread these out here. And what I want to do is just add little base layers of stuff that we're going to be building off of. These out of the way here. Give myself a little more room so I can get this on camera. I think that's just a little bit too big. Do that. I just got a little tray over here so that I can stick my trash in it. My trash can is a couple paces away from me, so. And we're just gonna kind of see if we can do this a little bit differently, just so we can see some more of that paste this time. Stick that right on down. And then one of the things that I like to do with my die cuts too is just kind of cut them up a little bit to use different pieces in different places. Because otherwise this is kind of big, I think. There we go. Cut off that excess. I'm pretty sure I won't need that. So then I just got those. We've got, these are all, this and this are all from that floral ephemera with all these really pretty flowers. There's some coral pieces in here. Let's see if we can get those. There's one. One like that. So that's what these are from. And it looks like maybe I shaped that a little bit too. So we'll shape this just of hair. Might have shaped that other one as well. I think this just kind of brings your ephemera to life just a little bit. And I'm just pressing these back down just a bit where I want to glue them. So they kind of have like this, almost like a swooped kind of, I don't know if you can see that. And I like to take the greens off because this is kind of a monochromatic-ish project. So I'm just going to rip these off. I think it's the only flower that has it. Yeah. And give that a nice little shape, give that a nice little shape. That helps kind of bring the flowers to life. And let's see, I think I put that one about here. We'll glue that down. And you guys can use your favorite adhesive for flowers. A lot of people like to use tacky glue. I also like to, when I'm not in a rush, to use the heavy body gel as well. That's really great for holding down like metal embellishments in your flowers. And I also, while I'm at it, while that glue is still kind of warm, we're going to tuck, I think it's kind of hardened up just a little bit. I also have some liquid adhesive that I'm going to use here today. Get that cleaned up. It's going to come out. Oh, I might need to clean it with a pin. I like these fine tips because they're great for small things like that, but they always get clogged. Okay. All right, let me try one of my other bottles. We'll worry about that later. Let's see if this one's clean. There we go. And I'm just going to kind of tuck that in, press that down just where I kind of glued it. And this is just going to add some more layers and texture. Really pretty. I think that one was about there. Let's see. What did I do? What did I do? Oh, yeah, I see what I did. It's been a while since I've made these. I wanted to make them advanced so I knew what I was doing. Just going to cut off a little bit of this. I like it because it kind of reminds me of seaweed, these flowers. I'm going to use this bigger one here. So we'll cut these away. And it just kind of, you can kind of see it here. Just a little hint of texture to this project from this lace. So I'm going to glue that down. I'm just going to put a little hot glue right on the project and press that right in. Let's use my scissors so I don't burn myself. There we go. And then I think we'll use some more foam adhesive to pop things up. And I am going to use a little, because this lace is so textured, I am going to add just a little bit of hot glue to press that foam into. And then what we're going to do is pop this flower up on that foam. I might do 2 layers of foam. I think that'll make it really pretty. This is 1 millimeter thick foam, so you guys can use 2 millimeter. You can also fold it in half. I am also going to add right on this. Let's maybe go down like that. Add that little die cut right in there. And then we're going to hot glue this to that little foam that we added there. Perfect. Then we can continue to add more of these flowers in there. Make sure that that stays. And then I think what I did was I kind of just tucked that in. We're going to glue this flower down as well. We're going to add it like right here. So we're just kind of making a little triangle shaped cluster to build our stuff off of. And then we can tuck that right in here with a little bit of hot glue. I'm just going to cover the edge of that we're going to tuck in here. And get that like right up under the flower. You guys have any questions? Let me pull this back up and see. Yes, flower time is always my favorite too, Natalie. Thank you, guys. Oh, I see a question about Shasta. It looks like Natalie answered it. Oh. All right. Yeah. This is like loading up slow for me, but I don't know why the comments won't turn on my iPad for me. And I just get a tiny little sliver of comments on my phone. So I'm sorry if I'm not answering your guys' questions. I will leave it to Natalie today. I will troubleshoot this issue later. I'm going to add a little bit more of these in here. We'll tuck that like right under that flower ephemera piece. And then a lot of things on my desk that I can knock around today. Oh, I left it uncapped. All right, turn into hot glue. I'm always trying to juggle a few things while doing lives and forget to cap up my glue. We'll tuck that under there. We'll add this one too somewhere. We'll tuck it in between the petals of this flower here, and that'll just add even more dimension there. And then we're going to pop this right in here. So we're going to add some glue to these two arms here, because those are the ones that are getting tucked in. And if you guys are getting hot glue strings while using hot glue, you can go back in at the end of your project with a heat tool and just kind of blow over it just real quick. It'll kind of melt those strings down. All right, so that's how it's looking so far. We're gonna add on this. And then I think we'll be done except for the glitter and the pearls. So I'm just gonna add a hefty amount of hot glue here just to make sure that it gets glued well to this flower. Kind of hold it for a second while it dries. Oh, and then we'll add crystals, of course. Move that out of the way. I keep knocking it. Okay. So we will add our glitter next, and I'm going to bring back in the soft matte gel. And I'm going to use another small brush, and I am going to just brush this on to the edges of the ephemera, the die cut leaves, onto the edges of the petals of the flowers. And then we'll sprinkle on really pretty glitter. And I chose this iridescent flaky one from the winter set. I think that just is, it kind of reminds me of like how sea foam sparkles. That's why I chose that one. It's also great glitter for using on all of your Christmas projects for like snowflakes and things like that too. And I choose the soft matte gel for this application because once it's dry, any like places where glitter didn't get, it'll dry matte, so it won't make anything like super glossy and shiny where you don't want it to be glossy. Let me get always like to do this on a piece of paper so I can pour all of that back in. And we are just gonna glitter to our heart's content, because all of this can go easily back into that little tube. All right, I will put this off to the side and add that back in later, but it's really easy to just pop off this cap here and pour that back in. All right, so now we're going to add some of these pearls, and let's see if I can get, I do like to use my liquid glue for this. Let me see if I can get this working again. And I always like to just nestle these right into the flowers. I'm gonna put 2 dots of glue here because we're gonna do 2 pearls. Stick that in there so it doesn't, and I like to use, this is called an awl, A-U-L, I think is how it's spelled. And it's just a little pointy pokey tool, and that just helps me grab these a little bit easier and place these right down in. Let's see, I want a small one. And these are from the, I think, is it Memory Hardware Pearls 4? I put the, oh, yeah. There. So that's with the pearls. And then I'm gonna go in and add a few of these glittery blue crystals as well, just because, like, I kind of feel like a project is never truly finished until I just have, like, all the sparkle in the world on it. And because it's really dry in Colorado, I like to add just an extra touch of adhesive, because sometimes that little backing on these crystals kind of dries up and shrivels up a bit after a while here because it's just so dry. And they'll fall off, and I have this like little collection of, because sometimes I'm a little lazy and I don't do it. I have this collection of little crystals on my craft desk. I have no clue what project they came from. And once I figure it out, I glue them back on, but I always have just a bunch collecting in like a little jar on my desk. So if you guys live in a dry area and you have that problem, just a little liquid adhesive kind of helps really hold that on really well for a more long-term hold. All right, let me cap up this. And I think Natalie later today is my YouTube project for the Mermaid's Tale release going live. Maybe we give people a little peeky at my project because I have it over here. We'll see what she says. In the meantime, I'll bring this up so you guys can look at it. Just see all that pretty sparkle. I think that just makes it super magical. So I hope you guys play along on the NSD ATC challenge. Super fun. Here they are side by side. Ooh, yes. Okay, Natalie said yes, so we're going to do that. And then also we'll get another look at this here before we do that. This is the little seahorse. All right. Let me pull that over. So later today on Prima's YouTube channel, we're going to release a tutorial video for my A Mermaid's Tale release project. And I probably won't be able to get it all in screen at once. Maybe if I kind of move some things. But this is what I'll be sharing how you can make. So I got as close as I could to driftwood I found to stick in my backyard and dry brush it white. I think it made it look pretty nice. And I just love that mermaid. I fussy cut her from the 12 by 12. I used a lot of the different pieces from this collection, so make sure you guys check that out later today. Make sure you go and subscribe to the Prima YouTube channel. Hit the notification button so you guys know as soon as it's loaded and live. So yeah, so there's that's coming out later today. And then, of course, what we made today here in the live. And that's it, guys. I hope you have a great Friday, a great weekend. Make sure you play along, post pictures of your ATC projects, tag Prima, do all the things. And maybe you'll, I think, win something. I think there's like 2 lucky winners, I think is what the graphic said. So correct me if I'm wrong, Natalie, but yeah. So make sure you guys play along, have some fun, make some little magical creature ATCs. All right, we'll close out this live, guys. And if you have any questions, make sure you can, stick them in the replay if you don't get them answered now in the live. Or of course, comment on any of Prima's posts, wherever. So let us know if you have any questions about the ATCs or the new collection, A Mermaid's Tale. And we'll see you guys in the next live or YouTube video. And have a great weekend, guys. All right. Bye.